What's going on, guys? So let's take a look at the charts and review today's action. So walking away today, it is Monday, March 25th here, and the market's already closed now. So just doing a breakdown review video here, but walking away with about $635 in profits on the day. 245 of that is already locked in, and about $390 of that is currently open P&L. So I'm going to walk through each of the trades that I took today, and some things that I did right and some things that I did wrong on the day. So first things first, let me pull over here the here we go. So let me go ahead and pull over the trade tab here, so you guys can see I took a few trades in the Nasdaq futures here today and was able to pull out 245 bucks from the Nasdaq futures there. And then I also traded some Russell, which is the position I currently still have open right now. And that one's up 390 bucks. So you can see P&L open on that one. Currently 390 bucks. And the Nasdaq is closed out. So I am short one of the 1,500 puts here with 4 days to go for expiration. I sold this for $16.50. You can see it came in about half of what I sold it for today alone, good for about 390 bucks, and we'll talk about that position here in just a few minutes. But let's talk about the Nasdaq here. That was the main futures trade of the day. Even though the profits are lower, it was the main market I wanted to focus on. And what ended up happening was I got kind of caught up and chopped around a little bit here first thing in the morning. Ended up down about $400 on the day, and then was able to come back and walk away with some decent profits there. So what did I do on the Nasdaq? Well, coming into the day, I had a game plan, right, where if we opened here right around 73.30, 75, so let me blow this screen up here for you guys. There we go. So I had a game plan coming into today, right? If we gap down and we can open right around 73.30, 75s and trade that level, then I want to look at long opportunities from that point. Now, that ended up happening. You can see Friday's close is way up here. We gap down, we open right at 34 quarters and immediately push down into 73, 30, 75s. From that point, I went ahead and established one long position there, and I got filled right here at 29.50. And that was just 8 seconds after the bell, 9:30 and 8 seconds there. And you can see this position started to go in my favor, came back a little bit on me here, and then started to go in my favor again. The position was up, 5, 6, 7 points there at one point, and then immediately got hammered. And I ended up taking a stop out on this down here at 73.20, 75s. So this move flushed really, really quickly. So I lost about 8 points on that trade rather quickly. And I'm like, okay, so I was down, $155 on the day there. And I was like, okay, we gotta, kind of take a look here and see what's kind of shaking here. And what ends up happening is, okay, we push a little bit lower, we rally up, and I miss the rest of this long here in the Nasdaq, right? The idea today was get long 73, 30, 75s, targets up here into 73, 64 quarters. That ended up happening, but I just took a stop loss early on. So then I was just patient and waited and waited and waited. And I didn't get a new long until 9:56. So I waited about 30 minutes here, 26 minutes or so. And I finally took a new long here right at 73.09s right in through here. And let me see. I don't know why. There we go. That'll work. Sorry, bear with me 1 second here. And perfect. All right, so I took a new long right in through here at 73.09, right? Went ahead and established a new long position, and this trade ended up, having some nice profits there. It was up about 10 points or so on this, but ultimately it came back and it stopped me out right there on the bottom of this tick at 73.05. right? And if I hover over this, you can see that low is 7305, and that was my stop out on that trade. Now, at this point, I'm like, okay, I lost 4 points here. I lost about 9 points on the other trade. And I'm like, okay, so we're down, a couple $100 on the day. And I need to be patient, wait for the right trade. And that right trade was going to be if the market come down here to 72.87s, I could then look at new longs. Now, as you can see from this chart, that did not end up happening. We never got that push down, and we were never able to establish a long position off of 72.87s. Now, one thing I did notice down here at the 72.9350 level is the fact that we had a divergence down there. And what I'm going to do is pull up a 4-grid chart here for you guys. And I'll show you where that divergence came into play at. So that divergence came in right here at 1010. You can see this green arrow in the Dow futures here in the bottom right corner. And that ends up triggering, right? We had one signal here at 10 o'clock. That ends up triggering. That's when I took the 7309s in the Nasdaq futures there. And then we had this one other divergence here at 1010 in the Dow that ends up triggering and working, running all the way to targets there. But what I did is I used that as a way to step into the Nasdaq. And the way I did that is, okay, we've got a nice flush down here, right? If we're measuring trends, we've got highs up here, right? We've got lows down in here, and we continue to sell off, rally back. These are lower highs here, lower lows, lower highs, and lower lows, right? Now, what ends up happening right here is we rally up, we pull back, and we fail to go through this prior low down here at 72.9350s. And then we rally up, we take out this prior high right here. And then once we do that, we start pulling back here into kind of a demand zone that I outlined on the 5-minute chart, which comes in right here at 73.09. And you guys can see that pullback comes right down here into 7309. So 7308 quarter was the low of that move. Now we know we've got an established support level here at 7309. We've got ourselves a nice pullback. So I went ahead and stepped into a long position there in the Nasdaq. What I ended up doing was picking up 73.1650s, right about where my cursor is there, on the Nasdaq futures to the long side. With targets on this trade up into 73.64 quarters. So I'm looking for the markets to go from basically right here, 73.1650s, all the way up into 73.64 quarters, right there. Now, I didn't end up holding this trade all the way up into there. I ended up getting out right in through here at 73.4150s. So this trade was good for 20, that's a 2, and that's 5. So this trade was good for 25 points, right? And for those of you that know what the Nasdaq futures are, you'll know that 25 points in the Nasdaq futures times $20 per point is good for $500 per contract. So I ended up being down on the day about 255 bucks, and then ended up taking this trade and then turning that Nasdaq loser on the day into a plus 245 bucks with a one lot trade there that was good for $500 per contract. And a number of other members in the room were in the Discord were able to capture the same trade, capture some profits. I know Gavino was up 1,000 on one trade, 700 on another trade. Lewis was up some money. So all in all, it was a really patience testing day in order to be able to make this trade end up working out. Now, again, like I said, I got out here a little bit early. I had to run and meet up with my parents and have lunch with them. And so, I just didn't want to sit through this pullback. I didn't want to put stops anywhere, some down here in case that the market didn't want to hold. to try and capture that next move up into 73.64 quarters. So I went ahead and just played it safe, cut the trade off a little bit early there, but ultimately cost myself about 23 points worth of profits there. So, you know, 460 bucks worth of potential profit there. But again, I'm not concerned about that. Like, I can't focus on whether or not, you know, I can't say, oh, I should have made that money or I shouldn't have made that money or whatever the case is. And again, I don't want to let that mess with my psychology on the day. So anyways, that's what I had there with the Nasdaq. We had another interesting trade kind of set up there towards the end of the day. And then I'll talk about the Russell as well. So you can see this is my 4 grid here that I use with the divergence indicator. And what ended up happening here, and if I unlink this chart, you can see we ended up getting another trade setup here with the divergence later on into the end of the day here. At about 2:30 there, you can see the S&Ps come down, got new lows on the day. Nasdaq, Dow, and Russell did not. We set a signal, and you're in this trade for about a 3-point stop loss, 3.5-point stop loss there in excuse me, in the S&Ps, and that trade ends up working out all the way to the close for about 14 points, which again is a really, really nice trade there in the S&Ps. And overall, really solid trade. Now again, I did not take this trade, but again, the rules are there. It's very easy to follow, and was a good trade there for the end of the day. So now let's take a look here at the Russell. I'll show you guys what I did there. Excuse me. Actually, I'm out of water. So the trade I took in the Russell here. So for those of you that aren't familiar, you can trade the actual futures themselves, or you can trade the options on the futures. Now, for the Russell, I chose to trade the options on the futures, and I'll pull this over here. Let's see, detach. So what I ended up doing was coming in here to the Russell, and I'm saying, okay, I've got some support levels down below here, kind of 1494s. We've come down. This is about just prior to me putting on that Nasdaq position. You know, we've come down, we've rallied up, we're starting to pull back here. So in this rally up here, I will tell you when I sold that, 1029.50. So kind of right in through here, right in through this area, right? I went ahead and stepped in about 1505, call it, and sold the 1500 put for the Nasdaq futures, or sorry, for the Russell futures. And you can see that down here, 1500 put, and I am short one of those. It has 4 days to expiration. My trade price was $16.50. Excuse me. It's currently trading for $8.60, and my current open P&L on the day there was $395 from this trade. Now, why did I choose to sell the puts as opposed to just buying the Russell futures, which would have definitely worked out more so in my favor, right? Russell moved about 15 points here, call it, from my entry on that, which would have been good for about $750 per contract, as opposed to I only made about 400 bucks on the day with it. Well, the reason that I did that is I had room. You see, 1500 is right here. I have room all the way down 16.5 points below that level. So 1583.50 ends up being my break even on this trade because I was able to sell that put for a premium, right? So in my mind, I'm like, okay, we've got a really solid daily chart pulling back here, breaking through new lows. We're coming into some some support zones that I have, which are 1507.7 and 1494. If this is going to hold, this rally that we're starting to see that we were talking about when it comes to the Nasdaq there breaking trend on the way down, and the Dow setting up that divergence, I'm like, okay, if this is going to hold, we're fairly close to that support level. I want to make sure I have this position on. So, excuse me. So that's why I went ahead and stepped in right there and was able to sell that position. And now as long as the Russell here stays above 1500, I will be able to collect the maximum profit on that trade at the end of the week, which will be $16.50. Now, if the Russell comes all the way down to 1483.50 by the end of the week, I still will be at a break even there, right? And anything between 1483.50 and 1500 will be some type of profit there on this particular trade. So taking advantage of some volatility this morning on the push down, some premium that's baked into those particular options that I saw, and just being able to step in and kind of take advantage of that, selling those Russell futures, and gonna continue to manage this position throughout the rest of the week. And a really good way, in my opinion, and the way that I like to use them, is to kind of, if I like a position or I like the particular market, but I can't find an actual entry for the futures, I'll lean to the futures options as they provide a little bit more flexibility. But anyways, that's what I got for you guys today on this video. If you enjoyed the content, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do that. Click that little red button that says subscribe, and leave me your comments in the comment section below. Right? Let me know anything I can do better for you guys, some questions you have, some content for ideas for future videos that you'd like to see. And as always, the links in the description below is how you guys are going to be able to get in contact with me and the rest of the MLT team here. If you want to join us in the Discord, that's going to be the first link in the description below. And as always, excuse me, trade safe, follow your plan, and I'll see you guys on the next video.